Hello everyone, we are live and tonight we're gonna go to Tsukuba to discuss our lap. We couldn't put like a very fast lap. I think there's more than we can improve. But it's a tricky track. We also want to discuss with Gianni what happened this week in Navarra. So we have a lot to unpack here. And yeah, hopefully let's see what comes out of this session. I have 1,000 questions. And he's already calling. Oops, my bad. Hello there.
Hi, Alan. How are you, brother?
I'm doing well. How about yourself?
Yeah, good. Thank you, bro. Good. Thank you. Just make sure your input's on the right mic. I believe it might be on the wrong microphone potentially,
It
just
is
in case
possible.
for the stream.
Hold on.
Just see, Discord's a masterclass at always getting it wrong every day. I feel.
Is it
There
better
we go.
now? Yeah.
Yeah, that's all good. Perfect. Perfect. Yeah,
Yesterday I
man.
was
The
talking the stream for like half an hour in the wrong mic.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Oh, really? Yeah. It's such a pain. I always feel like every time I log on every morning, I always get the unexpected, put it on the, well, either on a controller microphone, either on a camera microphone, or you get lucky and it's on the headset microphone. But it's the best working with this technology, I feel. But anywho, how's your week been so far? How's Navarra gotten on for you?
tragic. Navarre is tragic.
Tragic.
Yeah,
Okay.
it just,
Yeah.
and I think like we can spend some time there because Tsukuba is a
Okay.
pretty short track, right? And
Yeah. Sure. Yeah.
um, so here's what's going on, and I wanted to hear like your
Okay.
thoughts and maybe like some divine intervention here. We 2 weeks
Mhm.
ago we went to Lebanon. I got my
Mhm.
ass kicked at Lebanon, right? And then I went to the
Right.
race week and I was doing fine. I had the
Mhm.
pace. I was close to guys like who I rarely am close with. I was beating people who sometimes I struggled to keep up the pace. I was making zero mistakes, having super consistent lap times. And I was just like, I thought this week was going to destroy my rating, and I'm actually doing pretty
Mhm.
good. And we had like the lap time at Navarra. I felt like I had more that I could improve. And
Yeah.
after our session, I went
Mhm.
on the track and I got like a time that was very close to yours. So my
Yes.
confidence
Yep.
went like from 7 days before that, from being the garbage can, all the way to
Yep.
like I'm the next Max Verstappen. Like I'm the talent to be
Yep.
discovered
Yep.
here, right? And it's
Yep.
like I love Navarra. I've raced there 1,000 times with the Formula cars, so I was just super excited to go there and just own
Right.
the week and see like the aliens getting there, kick their asses, and show my name to them. So I was like, I
Yep.
was super excited. I was
Yes.
dreaming
Sure.
with that week. And then
Yep.
time
Yep.
came, Monday showed up, and I went to the like I saw their times. Okay, like let's do this. And in the open
Mhm.
lobby, I couldn't even get close. I was like, okay,
Right.
maybe
Okay.
like the first race in, and I'll feel the difference in the grip and what's going on.
Yep. Yep.
Truth is, even after like 2 days racing there,
Mhm.
I'm still like a full second off pace
Right. Okay.
in the qualified lap
Right.
from like people
Yeah.
that I usually compete. And
Yeah. Okay.
yesterday, I sat down here earlier in the day, like how I'm gonna find this time, and I was pushing, looking like at the telemetry and trying to do different things
Mm.
in the like different lines, like trying to get
Mhm.
closer to the line you were showing me. And I was doing a different line, and things were working, so I tried like different things. I also saw some of the people's telemetry from the channel, like they're in the Discord server, trying to see what
Yeah.
we're
Yeah.
doing differently, adapt. And I found like
Right.
I found like a half second there. So I went
Right.
below
Okay.
like I think my fastest lap was a 50.7 something,
Okay.
but
Yeah.
my race pace is still like 51.2, 0.3, if that. And I decided to go
Okay.
for a race yesterday. I'm gonna go for one race, try to see if I can find the pace here again. And I
Right.
was much faster than the guy behind me, but I wasn't consistent at all. And that
Okay.
resulted in a last corner incident where like he just killed me, and I could cross the
Yep.
line like in P4, but
Yeah.
I never found the pace. I never found consistency, and worse, I
Mhm.
never found the lap time that I found a couple of
Right.
times like earlier in the day.
Yeah, okay, sure. Well, it's interesting you mentioned that because I hear the same situation goes on in the MX-5 cars as well. Um, that people are finding that obviously, yeah, like they can still be such a long way off, or feel like at least they are like kind of long way off. Um, I do know that from what I've seen at least this week, the conditions that we practiced on or tested on at least are definitely a lot cooler by a decent majority. A good, I think, 7-ish, maybe five to 7-ish degrees cooler. And along with that, things like wind as well could definitely be playing into effect potentially slightly more than what was going on. Um, so I think the biggest thing is just like when you have those adjustments and you have those kind of little bit more um, cooler conditions almost in that sense, everything kind of gets pushed forward, I suppose, in one way or another. You got to feel like as a driver you've got to be able to adapt with moving the conditions forward. I mean, usually if anything so far this season, um, conditions tend to usually be worse than typically what we're dealing with, right? So it usually tends to be that, when we go to a race, not every week, but some weeks, definitely you find it a lot of the time, the conditions usually tend to be worse. So people are usually going slower. But I know that there have been weeks as well where the conditions are definitely better, and you do have to kind of adapt to that. But I think the problem is with Navarra is that it's such a clinical circuit. It's so unique in its own way, and it's not honestly, it's not really one of my fan favorites. Like I don't sit there and go jumping for joy to race in Navarra, to be honest with you, because it's a bit of a crappy track for racing. In all honesty, just the off tracks are a bit weird. Just the track limits are a bit awful, and just the curbs don't really suit the cars very well, and all this sort of stuff like that. But I think nonetheless, I think it's just more so a case of Navarra's been a very popular circuit since it released. I think a lot of people have been racing on all levels, and I think no matter what level you are, it's an experienced circuit. And I think on top of other tracks like Lebanon, like here at Tsukuba this week, like a lot of the other tracks we've been to, it's probably one of the biggest and it's probably one of the most unique. And I think that's the biggest thing as well is that I don't think we've really been to maybe a lap that has that much time on it. I mean, it's a 1 minute 50 lap time. It's nearly a 2 minute lap time almost in a way. So this is just starting to potentially open up into what we'll have to look forward to going into next season, where we're going to be dealing with a lot of these type of tracks where they're very long, lots of corners, lots of time to gain, lots of time to lose. And it's very much a case of you need to be able to be on your best game and try to execute that and approach that as good as possible. Because yeah, realistically, I mean, a lot of the circuits we've been to this season, they're all around the kind of 1 minute 10 to 1 minute 25, maybe 1 minute 30 at best. And this is kind of plus 20 seconds almost in a way in comparison. So I think the biggest thing is just yeah, it's probably the circuit size that I think is maybe costing it a little bit. But I suppose as you know as well, if you do get just a couple of little sequences slightly incorrect or slightly off or away from where you wanted to be, you can very easily lose time. So do you feel like it's just a case of maybe in comparison to these other guys in those sessions? Because what times are they typically doing? Is it low 50s that they'd be doing then basically? Is that
Yeah,
is that what the benchmark is?
yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Like 53, 52, like 51.
Yeah. No, absolutely. So do you feel like it could just be a fact of when maybe not just maybe not really adapting to the conditions as well, or do you feel like you're doing that and you're applying that well, and it genuinely just is a case of it's a bit of a query, I suppose, of where it really is for you.
Yeah, like to be very honest, I've been thinking a lot. I just don't know, cause like sometimes I figure it out, and I kill. You know what?
Yeah.
I'm expecting more grip of the track, and here like it's way less grip. So let me try to go around here differently, like brake earlier, right, and
Mhm.
like be less aggressive, things like that. And then the time
Mhm.
shows up, like the time comes. On this track, I was looking the lap I was comparing my lap against, the guy that I was comparing, like he was a full second faster than I was, and he was
Right.
going like
Okay.
super hard on the brakes and getting the ABS
Yeah. Okay.
triggered. And I was like, okay,
Yes.
I don't
Yes.
want to do that. Like, I don't want to do that. So
Yes.
let me try to get the same
Sure.
type of like brake efficiency without triggering the
Mm.
ABS. So I did some like
Sure.
adaptations, and that's how I gained some time. But
Okay.
I
Yep.
don't know if after the first day my confidence just went all the way down, and that got in my
Okay.
head. And now like during the races, I'm just like constantly thinking about it, or what? Like
Mhm.
because again, like if I knew,
Yeah.
if I had a good pointer, like okay, I have to take the pressure out, just relax, and lap time is gonna show up. I tried it, it
Mhm.
didn't show up, and then let's put more
Mhm.
pressure. I tried it, didn't show up,
Sure.
and let me try to go
Yeah.
around
Okay.
like differently, didn't show up. So I really don't
Didn't
know.
show up. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Interesting. Um, from my experience with this circuit, qualifying has never been a strong suit at this track. I think it's definitely for me, like I find in my personal experience as well, I can have drivers that qualify really, really well, but then you beat them in the race. You know, like that's something that I always usually tend to find around this circuit. Somehow people just are able to really extract lap time out of the car in the qualifying sessions, but in the races, I've always felt like then you're able to equal them out. But again, it's probably more so a case of you probably feeling at the moment. Like, are you feeling race pace is any better? Are you feeling a little bit more competitive in the races,
Not
or
even
is it the
close.
same?
So
Not even close.
there
Okay.
was a race that I got like a 51 point something. The top three guys, they were like 50 lows. And we started, and the guy behind me had the same lap time. And I usually get better in the race than in qualify. So I was like, I can create space. I can create a gap behind me. And I went for it, right? So the race started, and I was increasing the gap behind me. And as I was looking the gap, like each second that I could pull away from the car behind, I was getting behind 2 seconds from the cars ahead. So their pace
Okay.
continued to be like a full second faster than mine until they got to a
Okay.
point. Like sometimes the P1 just pulls away so much that they start like managing the race, and you stop seeing
Mhm.
the gap increase because they're just trying to bring it back. But
Mhm.
they were like 5, 6 seconds away. I was like, geez, that's a lot.
Yeah. Okay.
That's a lot.
It's a fair bit. Yeah. Yeah. No, absolutely. Well, what I can see from my end, almost in a way, man, this is in comparison to your best lap, or one of your best laps, I suppose. I mean, obviously you've done the 50.7, 50.9, you did a 51 in the race here. Few different kind of situations here. Um, but you can typically see all through the week it's just changing, 40.5 degrees, 34, 36, 30, 35, 37, 36, 35, 35, 36, 33, 34. So it's always changing throughout the week. And I think almost in a way when you compare it to, the lap that we looked at when we caught up last time, you can see that realistically, even in a session like this where you are, it's 33 to 39 to 33 almost in a way, right? So what's that? 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So 6 degrees cooler, right? In zones like this, like sector 2 and 3, where you're driving in 6 degree cooler weather, but we're only 0.07 ahead, right? It's kind of a case of in a 6 degree deficit, you should probably be maybe 2 tenths ahead, right? Which would then mean that T4 is 1.5 tenths ahead. And when you also look at sectors like 5, 7, T8, sector 8 and 9 and 10, I'm either faster or equaling you almost in a way, which kind of means that you're lingering time in those sections because I shouldn't be faster than you here. I should not be able to be faster than you in a track that's a fair bit hotter. So what I maybe think almost in a way is happening is that, just little minor differences. And this is the hardest part, right? When you're trying to compare to, guys that have done the track quite a fair bit, that have, executed things correctly around here for, not only a couple days, but they've done it for, a few seasons, I'd like to say. Um, you've got to be on your A game to be able to execute lap time because yeah, it is a very very long circuit and it doesn't really allow you to make any little minor sort of stuff ups because if you do or if you are lingering pace, then it's obviously quite tough. Whereas then you come to someone like Tsukuba and you say, okay, a lot shorter of a circuit and it's only 6 tenths of a second. But what I'll tell you around there, as we'll see later on, it's again, just execution almost in a way, right? It's kind of the case of, you might be trailing off the brake but too early. You might be releasing the brake too early. You might be releasing the brake too much. It's the same situation here, right? You look at turn 2 to 3, for example, you can see the difference that we kind of have. You get on it really, really well. You hold it really, really well, but you release it a little bit too much, right? But again, that comes down to the racing line. Maybe your racing line is a little bit too sort of shallow, that doesn't allow you to carry the brake as much as I do through the middle of the period, or maybe it's just again by choice, which then obviously makes you have an increase towards the back end of the corner, which then obviously makes you drop your minimum speed. You get on the power earlier, you get the full throttle earlier, but the problem is that the natural momentum of the car makes you end up a lot more shallower as well. So that difference of, okay, you still do go faster, but there's that little bit of difference where your minimum speed does drop. You never want your minimum speed to be lower than mine, right? You always will want it to be higher, because at the end of the day, in this particular situation, the conditions are ultimately better, right? And there should be a little bit more execution. Because I know for me, for example, like if I make the choice of going down 6 degrees, right? If I were to go down to 33 degrees, for example, in my session, I'd probably go from doing a 51, probably a 51.2 on the second or third push lap, all the way to probably doing a 50.6, right? I'd be able to probably gain about half a second to six tenths of a second potentially by dropping that, almost a degree, a tenth of a degree, almost in a way, pretty much is what I'd gain. But it's just more so the case of I'd be feeling like you noticed, you can push the car a little bit harder, right? But it's still pushing the car within the same reasons of what we've been working on up until this time, is that you're pushing the car while still keeping it in the limits, but you're really making sure that, every little sort of part of execution is absolutely correct, right? So, I mean, when I look at this, there's track available. That's what I see. I see that you're able to open up that exit up a lot more. You're able to open up the entry up a lot more. You're able to maybe carry a little bit more brake earlier, that then makes you carry less brake towards the end, and ultimately allows you to open up that corner a little bit more, and potentially that little gap between here to here where you are going slightly slower. Look how much time you lose through here, right? Watch this. It goes from 0.005 to 188, right? So you lose about 1.7 tenths of a second. You gain it back, but in that kind of period where the speed is different, you lose 1.8, 1.6, 1.7 tenths of a second, pretty much in a way, right? So if you add that on, minus everything else that's going on, you can nearly be 2 tenths faster here, right? Which straight away takes you from doing a 50.7 to either a high 50.5, low 50.6, right? So it's genuinely the fact that to be at the top, to be at the best, as we're continuously working on, everything has to be absolutely to the point, right? There can't be a little kind of difference. And that's what those guys at the front can do, I suppose. And again, that's something that takes time. And I think the one thing we got to always remember, man, is like every week has been good, but there's always going to be setbacks. There's always going to be weeks like this that you just rock up and you don't really understand it. Again, this track is very unique. Not one that I typically enjoy. Not one that I really say, you know what, I'm gonna love racing here. I don't really enjoy ever really racing here, to be honest with you. But it's one that's there, and it's one that's there typically in his rookie series. Not really one that you'll come across very oftenly in a kind of in like a GT4 or a GT3 or any of those higher class cars. They don't really pop this circuit out too much. But again, it's one that's there, right? So sitting there thinking about it now, can you kind of maybe start to see in moments like this where you say, okay, the time seems impossible to find, but it's a very, very fine line of where it is and where it isn't. Can you start to see that almost in a way?
To be very, very honest, like, yes and no, because the dots are not connecting. So a lot of things play a role, right? So one of the things, and I even thought about that when I was trying to troubleshoot it. Like, is it because we're using 0% track usage? But then I haven't had this issue so far. Usually, like the time that the gap between the two of us translates to the gap that I see in the races, right? It usually translates.
Sure.
So whenever I cannot catch up to be even close, someone shows up in the session, and like I have no idea how to get the time, or I see like the telemetry and I'm just not ready. Like I see I have to carry like 5 kilometers an hour more speed around this corner, but I can't. Like I'll lose control of the car. So that's kind of the learning and the evolution phase. But this is the first time that we are so close in the session, like in the practice, that I go to race, and everything you were saying like makes sense in terms of, like, I should be faster here, I should be slower there, or like approach this differently, use more track. But I did not change. If I look this lap, like I should have not changed my approach versus what I was doing before. So I'm trying to
Yeah.
adapt to the track conditions. And if it's
Hmm.
more or less like usage, if it's like colder or hotter, like it might take me a few laps to find it, but I can usually
Yeah.
find it pretty consistently.
Yeah.
And even in between
Yeah.
sessions when the temperature like changes a lot, those
Mm.
guys they're still being consistent in their lap times. So maybe instead of
Yeah.
being like a 50.2, they do like a 50.3, but
Yeah.
I'm not
Yeah.
I'm not improving. I'm not improving at
Yeah.
all. So I'm kind of,
Yeah.
and I don't know if we'll find like the reason or we'll be able to like get to the bottom of this in this session.
Mm.
But if
Mhm.
during the week you have an aha moment, or if I have an aha moment, and like man,
Mm.
like this could be like that could be the issue that's stopping you from
Mm.
translating what you're able to do in the
Yeah. Okay.
practice before like to the race sessions. That's kind of the thing that I'm missing. Like what happened to me or what
Yeah.
happened to my handling of the car that I just cannot get there.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I understand, and yeah, it look, like I said, it's weeks like this that do occur, you know, it's the unfortunate sort of progression thing that always happens. There's going to be a week eventually that you hit a bit of a roadblock, and you know, like I said, it is a very unique circuit. It is very different. It's like nothing we've really looked at before. Again, it's not one that I sit there and skip and rave about, just for the fact I don't really think it suits these cars at all. Just the way that the gearbox works, the way that the gearing works, it just doesn't really kind of, and the way that the curbing is just so aggressive for these cars, it doesn't suit. But at the end of the day, you've got to sit there and try and figure it out because everyone else is doing the same thing as well. But you know, I think when you look at a corner like here, just 5 and 7, for example, right? You can see that everything is happening a lot more earlier than me, right? Obviously, braking markers absolutely on the money, but you can see braking pressures more, right? So you're going a little bit more on the pressure to be able to get on the throttle a little bit earlier. You can see then you're getting on the full throttle a lot more aggressively. Then you're having to brake a lot harder coming into six, which then obviously means that you can trail off early and get on the power earlier. But again, like I said, it's all these little differences that have the kind of speed difference there to there, have the speed difference, you know, here to here that you're faster, then you have the speed loss there to there, right? And like we've talked about over all the weeks so far, it's those little differences that make up so much. And although there's no kind of proper answer to it almost in a way, it's the sectors like this that your competitors will probably be putting a good 3 or 4 tenths on you through 5, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Right? That's your competitors will be ultimately putting time on you there. So if you were to subtract this section, right, 5 to 7 and 9 to 10, take that out, right, and everybody else take that out as well, you'd probably all be doing there or thereabouts a pretty similar time. I mean, let's just say every corner here you're a tenth faster than me, a tenth faster in 5 and 7, tenth faster in 8, half a tenth down the back straight, and then let's say a tenth in 9 and 10, right? Like the kind of follow through of the rest of the lap. So tenth there. Let's just say 0.03 or zero point 0.3, and then we'll say another tenth there. So one, two, let's just say half, and three, right? You go from doing a 50.7 to a 50.4. You go instantly from being, you know, that level off to being basically maybe 2 tenths off the fastest guys. Which at the end of the day, realistically at this point at the moment, that's kind of where we've been in comparison to the other guys. And that's completely normal, right? Because we're learning these circuits every week. So I think obviously, yeah, then it's about being able to do it in the actual session, right? Being able to actually get everything correct in an actual situation in qualifying. But I think the biggest thing is that even though it doesn't really make sense, I actually don't think it's that far away for you. I think maybe you think it's further away than what it actually is, but I think it's probably more so a case of just there's just little execution differences that, you know, maybe you don't feel in the moment, maybe you don't see in the moment, maybe you do get this section right sometimes, but it's more so the case of this time you didn't, right? And what's to say that a lot of the times potentially you don't get it right in those situations either, right? And then it costs you that time too. So there's no kind of big yeah, I suppose there's never really a big sort of crackdown answer with something at a circuit. Like I think it's the fact of we know that you can do it. You know that you can do it. I've seen it, right? We see it every single week. Again, not even for me, right? Even for me this week from my testing, I'm off, right? And I'm usually there or thereabouts on the pace pretty much every single week. I'm doing a 51.1. I also did a Mazda for a few other clients the last few days. Um, and I'm also a second off the pace comparison to what they're doing in the race, right? They're able to do, I think, like high 49s or something, for example, in an MX-5. My benchmark lap was like, yeah, high 50, I think, to be honest with you, right? So, you know, even for me, from a track guide perspective and from a data perspective, even I'm not where I need to be, right? But I know that if I'm in the same situation, that it just means that I have to execute things even better to be able to extract that time from the car. And obviously, yeah, that'll happen in due course. But I think it's obviously the biggest thing of like, I think that the difference is smaller than you think, to be honest with you. And as crazy as that probably sounds from your experiences this week, I don't think it's as far away as what you potentially suppose it is. I think it's just generally the fact of a couple little differences that don't really feel like a lot, that don't really feel like you're extracting things that much differently. You feel like you're on the money with it. I think they're just maybe making you lose a little bit more time than what you maybe think, right? Because yeah, we know how sensitive time is. Again, a second is a second. You know, it goes by in one. You know, that's the difference between you and another car. And just think about all the little minor differences of losing, like you've said before, like 3 kilometers an hour, 4 kilometers an hour, 5 kilometers an hour. Yeah, that don't seem like much, but it's time. You know, it's time, and that time is going to add up over a whole lap of 1 minute and 50 seconds, a lot more aggressively than what it's going to add up at a like Tsukuba that's maybe 1 minute and 10 seconds, for example, right? It's not going to matter that much. But then it makes it more sensitive to find it. But again, here it makes it even more sensitive to find it because one little difference, yeah, it doesn't feel like too bad, but it's the difference between you being a second off and the difference between them being a second up the road. You know. Um, so yeah, that's honestly what I think it is, Alan. So I genuinely think it's just about, you know, really making sure that, you know, when you are in the car, you know that when you do a corner, you're like, okay, you know, in comparison to what I always know, I'm not trying to make the braking distances maybe too short. But, you know, again, it's also more so a case of every condition makes it feel different. One, it could feel like braking could be better feeling short, or, you know, make it feel longer, feels better. But then again, you see other guys and they're braking completely differently and they're doing it another way and they're executing in a different way. And it's just then it makes you all confused and say, okay, well, what way is the best way, you know? And I think that's always the hard part. So, yeah, look, I mean, see how it keeps on going for you this week. In my opinion, looking at it from my end, and I just thinking maybe from my experiences of racing up until this point, you know, I've had my weeks like this. To be honest with you, I've had my weeks, and I don't think it's ever about thinking that you've lost it, you know, because you haven't, and I don't think that's what you're thinking either. I think it's just more so a case of like, it's confusing because you've been doing really well and you've been able to extract really, really well. And then you come here and you feel like, you know, you've gotten really close to me. But then when you've actually gone to, you know, do the thing in the races, um, you haven't been able to kind of extract it, right? And I think the biggest thing is just generally the case of when we always know, yeah, like when we look at previous weeks, and again, that's kind of what you said earlier, you know that throughout the week you say, okay, well, if I'm doing something wrong, you usually know why, right? But this week you feel like you're doing everything well and you still don't know why, and there's no kind of light bulb answer for you sort of sitting there. But from what I can see on our end, even though it doesn't seem like it's much or doesn't really seem like it's anything at all, it's something, right? And like I said, I shouldn't be faster than you anywhere, basically, in a way. If you're wanting to be on that level of those guys that are second faster than you, I can't be faster than you anywhere on a hotter track, basically, in a way. You need to be faster than me in every single opportunity. And again, that difference comes down to executions. And, you know, that's basically what we're looking at here. You can see the execution from yourself is definitely better, but in terms of what you're dealing with that time, it's not giving you the result that you're kind of looking for to get that time that you're sort of seeking, I suppose, in a way. So yeah, I mean, look, what's your thoughts, Alan? How do you feel about things? Maybe does that maybe give you a little bit more of a confidence boost, or is it still kind of, yeah, you're just sitting on the fence about it a little bit, I suppose?
No, I think like the the biggest takeaway from our conversation so far, and I appreciate like everything you said because it makes me think several layers deep into what's happening, what's going on. I
Yeah,
It's just like being more grounded and understanding instead
yeah,
of
yeah,
like punishing myself or thinking that we step back and like you're
mm,
getting worse. It's like, yeah, you
mm-hmm,
thought you're doing good. It could happen in real life, right? You think you're doing good,
yep,
and
yep,
then once you
yep,
get there, maybe your favorite track, maybe like your favorite car, but
yep,
sometimes it just doesn't come. Like it's just other people are
yep,
able to handle that better than you are, and it comes
yep,
to
yep,
like how can you mentally approach it during the race. So even though if
yes,
you're sucking during the race, how can you like suck the minimum amount possible so you can maximize your output.
Mm,
So that's
mm.
like that's how I'm
Yeah,
thinking right now. Like if I can
yeah,
get to their pace, what's the
yeah,
absolutely best that I can do and still be proud of myself and understand like it's part of the journey.
yeah,
If I was like
yeah, yeah,
consistently hitting
yeah,
like the 50.1, then I would not
yeah,
be here. Like I would be on the other side, I'd be
yeah.
coaching
Yeah.
people. So
Yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no, look, I mean, yeah, you gotta look everything in the perspective of it doesn't only happen to you. I mean, you look at guys, obviously very different example, but you look at guys in real world situations like Lewis Hamilton, for example, right? I mean, obviously difference is there's a lot of different machinery, but I suppose at the end of the day, like, he's going to circuits every single year that he's won at and blitzed at and got world record times at, and now he comes to these tracks and he's off the pace, right? And I know that as a driver mentally that would be killing him, because it's kind of just like, it would feel so frustrating to say, I've gone and done this here before, why can't I do it now? And that's why mentally it's so mentally taxing, a world like that, because you can go from one year being in a car that is so good and you can extract the speed out of it. You try and go do the same thing the following year in a different car, and you're nowhere near the same level. And I think it's just a big thing that as a driver, you just got to say, okay, well, this is me, this is where I'm at, this is what I'm feeling, this is all I can do, right? And you just got to try and make the most of everything that you can kind of like, sort of do there. And obviously from an iRating perspective, you're gonna have your fluctuations, right? I mean, there's obviously cases where and you typically find as you start going up the chain even more. Um, and I know that the BMW guys are the exact same. There's guys that I know that don't race weeks like this because the fact of they too themselves aren't good at this circuit, right? And I know that's a fact for sure. That you'll see guys that usually are racing every single week. You won't see their name pop up once this week just because they don't enjoy the circuit, right? But that's obviously no way to be, because it just basically says to yourself, you're hiding from the truth, right? You're
yeah,
hiding from the fact that there's something that you're not maybe executing absolutely perfectly, that even at their level they're not able to execute perfectly, right? So I think it's more so a case of don't beat yourself down too much, because at the end of the day, the lap that I showed you last week, that's a usual lap that I hopped in and did, a couple push laps, and that's where I got to, right? And usually every single week for me as well, that lap is usually quite competitive, right? It's usually there or thereabouts at the front of the kind of in front of the grid. If I were to go and do that and grid and grow, there'd be maybe some more time in it, but again, it's usually there or thereabouts. This one, like you said, it's about a second off the pace, even for me, right? So it just typically shows you that how the conditions can so drastically affect how you kind of maybe feel in the car, but as well the execution of how you actually make those conditions work in the moment are also very, very sensitive as well. So I don't think it's something to, yeah, it's a hard week. It's not something to batter yourself down about too much. It's very annoying, absolutely, because we've been doing very, very well. But again, it's the weeks like this that really make you kind of sit there and say, okay, well, it's the car, it's not the car, it's not the track, it's how I'm executing it, right? So you can always take away weeks like this and say to yourself, okay, well, why is the time not there, right? And I'm obviously sitting here and telling you that when I look at this, the biggest thing that I see is execution difference, right? And that's ultimately at the end of the day what's going on. It's execution difference. You're doing this, getting this result. I'm doing something else and getting a different result. Whose result works better? Majority of it, you're going faster. But if you were maybe doing it in my way, you might be going even faster,
yeah,
and that's really the biggest thing. So it's not a driver issue. It's more so just a understanding and adapting to the circuit thing, but as well, it's just more so a case of just ourselves saying to each other that, okay, some tracks we can execute really, really well. Some tracks we can get on the sort of pace. But also, like you said, if you were at a 50.1, we wouldn't be here today, right? But the difference is that the guys that are at that 50.1 are the guys that have been driving Circuit de Navarra in a BMW since they first landed. I don't even know, a couple of years ago now, right? They've been bumping it out since then. Same as me, right? I've been doing Navarra since the first dropped as well. And obviously it's all it's all good for me. I know where it is, but for us, it's the first opportunity we've come to a circuit like this, doing everything we're doing, learning the circuit, still adapting, still executing, and it's just maybe one of those weeks that you're not finding your feet there as quickly as what you're normally used to, just generally for the fact because the circuit is like 2 times bigger than what a lot of the circuits that we visit are, right? So, yeah, don't don't batter yourself too down about it. I know it's tough. I know it's hard because you're the one that has to sit there and go through it and endure it and kind of sit there and question yourself in a race. Why isn't it working for me? But you know, these are this is the next phase, right? Because at the end of the day, like we've discussed together, next season onwards, we're going to expand to bigger and broader circuits, right? You're going to come into these opportunities where tracks aren't going to be 1 minute 10 seconds anymore. Tracks are going to start to be 1 minute 40s, 1 minute 50s. Some tracks are going to be 2 minute 10s, right? So, you know, it's just maybe the tracks like these that we haven't exactly completely looked at before, like maybe a Monza that we had a brief look at, you know, in the middle of the season, back at the beginning of the season there, but almost in a way we're looking at these circuits in a much broader sense now, and that's maybe something that again we haven't really completely learnt of yet, is how to absolutely execute perfectly, or neither just the experience is there, or how to execute perfectly something rather than for 1 minute and 10, but you're trying to do it for 1 minute and 50. You know, there's an extra 40 seconds of lap time to come and go, almost in a way there. So the difference between what you would be at a 1 minute 10 circuit, it's probably going to be a little bit more if the same things happen across another 40 seconds of a lap time, right? So I think the biggest and most positive way to look forward from this here, Alan, is just think about it as a really big learning experience for you. It's a bit of a sign of what's to come in terms of something that we'll need to learn and need to grow with, and that's completely normal. That's completely fine. You know, it's a case of circuit size makes a difference to lap time, almost in a way, right? You know, a lot of the circuits, like I say, they're very short, very brief, not a lot really going on. If you execute everything really well, you get the answer, and that's why we get the answer every single time, because the circuits are pretty small. I mean, there's some that are a little bit bigger, but this is by far the biggest one that we've probably ever looked at up until this point, bar maybe someone like Monza, for example. But your driving approach compared to when we looked at Monza to now, it's completely different. You know, you're definitely
Yeah.
doing things a lot more better, but it's just a case of, yeah, this is the first time that since knowing everything you do, you've maybe hit a bit of a roadblock, just because literally an extra 40 seconds of lap time in comparison to normal is the difference between you being up the front and maybe a little bit off the reach. But again, it's just the execution that's the difference there. So yeah, look, I think keep that in the back of your mind. Don't try and approach the races trying to, like you said maybe before, trying to push it more. Pushing it more doesn't exactly do anything for you in iRacing. It just makes things worse. That's usually what I tend to find. You see other guys that can push it and they look like they can brake later, they can do braking harder, all this sort of stuff like that. Yeah, no, absolutely. Everybody's got their approach. Everybody's got their technique, right? Some things work for some people, some things don't work for others. But I think the biggest thing is always a case of you can get the same result. You're just going to make sure that you got to do everything in the right way. And that's the difference between being good and being the best, is that you can absolutely go and do that, right? And that's what we're still beating up to. At the end of the day, I mean, it's been an amazing season up until this point, and I think it's just a case of, again, eventually there's going to be a time where you kind of have to reground yourself, like you said, and just say, you know what, not every week's going to be the best. Not everybody's career is going to be perfect and happy sunshine and rainbows every single week. It's not. You know, I've had my weeks as well where it's not, you know, perfect, and I have my weeks where I feel like crap. I mean, to be honest with you, like this week for GT3 at Magny-Cours, like I doing my data packs for the setup stuff for this week for the GT cars, and I was slow. To be honest, I was slow. I had to put in a lot more time than what I usually tend to do, just for the fact that I was slow. I was probably a good 5 or 6 tenths off the pace, to be honest with you, per lap off the rip, which usually isn't something that I'm very, you know, very used to. I can be thereabouts quite quickly, but I had to probably put in a good extra maybe 45 minutes of testing to get to where I needed to be. Which, again, I mean, for me, it's completely fine. You know, I can sit here all day and do it. But at the end of the day, even I have my moments at this top level of driving. I even have my moments where I, you know, have an issue. And 45 minutes for me might be an hour and 30 or an hour and 45 minutes for yourself, you know, and that's just the big thing. So we all run into it. It's just about how you deal with it, how you approach it, and how you keep humble about it. For me, like I said, just to end up on it, looking in from the outside, I don't think it's as maybe scarce as you think it is. I don't think it's as deep as maybe what you think it is. I think it's just genuinely a fact of, you know, if you execute things ever so slightly better in terms of, you know, making sure that you're not making a braking zone too short by braking too hard, or you're not releasing the brake, you know, a couple percent too much in comparison to someone else or to myself. And really kind of looking for those last couple tenths that you can find. It's just about making sure that you're adapting to what you're feeling, and you know, like I've always said, sometimes things can feel impossible, you know, in the moment, and feel like, okay, if I do this, I'm going to spin. But it's the same feeling I had in a real life car, that I thought, oh, if I do that, I'm going to spin. But it's actually the case of, if you just tell your mind, let me try it, and you do it, and it works, then you're like, okay, well, it actually works, you know. But your mind tries to tell you 5,000 reasons why something isn't going to work, but if you just risk it and give it a go, it usually tends to work. So that's just what this is all about. So yeah, man. Look, any final comments on that from you? Anything to add? Anything to mention, or does that kind of give you a little bit of hope, I suppose,
Yeah,
going into the rest of the week?
I think it's like, I think it's good. Like the
Yeah.
the one thing that you said that I was talking yesterday or the day before in the stream was, like, we suck here, but it's not because we suck here that we're gonna run away from it. Because it's easy, right? You
Yep.
said that.
Yep.
Like, if you just race the ones that are super fast, then like you're just lying to yourself. And everybody has their
Yeah.
days. You have
Yep.
yours. Lewis Hamilton has
Yep.
his days.
Yep.
So it's not like Alan
Yep.
Mello sitting
Yep.
somewhere in Atlanta that's not gonna have his days as well. Just like trust
Yep.
the
Yep.
process, keep fighting. I think that's my takeaway.
Yep. Yep. That's it. And I mean, look, at the end of the day, you know, um, if you if you were to turn up about a couple months ago with this pace, and be at the iRating where you started and you were at this pace, you'd be blitzing it, right? You'd be blitzing the bloody field. You know, you'd be doing really, really well. You'd be way above where your number is, almost, in a way. We've done really well in getting it to a really great point,
Yeah.
but now we're kind of at the point where you have to be executing as well. You have to be doing things very, very well. And I'm sure that, you know, still, I think I've seen a few races where you aren't exactly the 2 or 3 car. You're probably like the 4 or 5 car, right? So you've got a lot of guys ahead of you that, you know, do typically maybe drive these cars more. Maybe they like driving this circuit particularly more. Maybe you don't see them usually every single week. Maybe they're just Navarra gurus. Who knows? You know, there's definitely people that I've seen in my journey that literally you don't see for the whole season. They come out for one circuit. You don't really usually tend to see a lot of guys that are the you know, ahead of you in terms of the 3, 4 car. You're always usually the 1, 2, or 3 car. You're not usually ever the 4, 5, or 6 car. You know, you're always quite high up in the grid. So there might be guys that could just be really good at the circuit and pop out and try to do some racing this week, and then you won't see them for the rest of the season until they come out next season for this track again. So there could be definitely that too. It's something that is very common. But yeah, look, I think you just got to kind of take it on the chin. Say, you know what? Okay, this is just one of those weeks where I've got to try and just push through it. And, you know, obviously coming into next week with Tsukuba, it'll be a lot easier of a circuit for you. You'll get back to your roots. You'll be able to extract and execute like you deserve to, and you'll be able to get the lap time, you know, like you obviously know how to. So, look, if you have any questions with it through the week, please feel free to let me know. But again, from what I can see, I don't think I don't think it's a sort of skill issue at all, in a way, and I don't think it'll ever be a skill issue. It's just more so a fact of maybe this one just needs a lot more time than maybe what the other ones do, just for the added enhancement of the circuit size. It means that, you know, what you can usually adjust to quite quickly at other circuits in a day or two, it maybe takes you 4 or 5 days to adjust a circuit like this, just because of the uniqueness of it, almost, in a way. So it's something to think about. But yeah, like I said, if you have any questions with it, just let me know. But I think, honestly, just try and stay grounded about it. Whatever happens, happens. Just try and say, okay, well, where I officially, I guess, initially know where time could be, it's through probably mainly through 5 to 9 that you can find some time. That seems to be where maybe the main lingering amount of time tends to probably lie, if you don't get it exactly correct. So just kind of think about it in a way of, okay, well, I can probably release the pedal maybe a little bit more in terms of pressure. I can extend the zone out. It will make me not feel like I can get back to full throttle on the exits of those corners. Then I can jump on the brakes again quite light, because I'm carrying more momentum. And then obviously you get the lap time a little bit from that. So you've just got to kind of think about the little nitty gritties and where it can be in that sense, rather than saying, oh, okay, someone else is doing this, someone else is doing that. At the end of the day, it's just execution, to be honest with you. That's all it really comes down to. So yeah, just think about that in that sense. And I think, yeah, that should typically help you out quite a fair bit. So just keep that all in mind.
Appreciate it.
Tsukuba now, how are you kind of feeling there? In my opinion, we're very, very close to where exactly you need to be. I think it's just one big main thing that I probably notice everywhere that's kind of going on a little bit in a way, and we've seen it before. But yeah, what's your feelings?
Yeah, Tsukuba is a track that I like a lot. It's hard to be consistent.
Mhm.
A lot of the times. Is this my? I think I had a better time than this one, by the way. Like,
Yeah, I saw you had one. Yeah, it was like a 131. I think it was from. Yeah, it was this one, the
yeah,
131.
okay.
Uh, yeah,
Maybe it doesn't
whatever
matter
out there.
because
There
like
we
I was trying to
go.
fix. Yeah, it doesn't matter. They're the same.
Yeah, yeah,
Like the issues should be
yeah,
the same. But
yeah,
I like Tsukuba. I think it's a fast track. I think here qualifying matters a lot because people, from my experience, people are super close to each other during qualify. So like a
yeah,
half a tenth means like two positions, right?
yeah.
So that's what I usually see. It's hard to overtake during the race, and people get like super aggressive. So having a good starting position, moving away from the middle of the pack, is
Sure.
kind of important. And about like my lap around here, really enjoy this track. I really enjoy this track. I'm trying to get like I'm not getting them, but I'm trying to get like later apex in some of the corners. It's like a two hairpin type of track, so I'm trying to be as fast as I can around
Yeah,
like the exit of those, and trying to control more the speed on the entry. And the last corner
yeah,
that's some days I hit it every single time, like from past experience.
yeah,
Some days I miss it every single time. So that's kind of my
yeah,
personal goal for like
yeah.
this week is to be very consistent around the last corner because I feel that's kind of where it's like the hit or miss or like you break it or make it. It's around that corner.
Right. Yeah, yeah. No, for sure. It's a very, yeah, a very kind of tight and technical circuit that certainly, certainly again makes you have to execute everything to the absolute best of your ability. And again, I think this is a prime example after just talking everything about what we did. That there's a little bit of execution difference in comparison to one another in terms of just the smallest of little differences. But when we compare to how you're doing it versus what I'm doing it, you can see examples like this. I gain a tenth of a second. I gain 2/10 of a second, right? So when you compare it back to somewhere like Navarra now, and we see that there's corners where you're braking away harder, releasing way earlier, powering on way earlier, braking harder, releasing way earlier, etc., etc., etc. You can just imagine the same thing is going to happen there. Just it's going to be even more enhanced because the circuit is way bigger. So again, where 6/10 here is obviously quite decent. You can obviously bring this one down a fair chunk, but where 6/10 might be here, that might be 1.2 seconds around somewhere like Navarra, just because of the difference in size of the circuits in comparison. So yeah, no, look, I think the one big thing that I probably noticed more so than not is I think a little bit of that's something that we've talked about, prior in a few weeks prior. I don't even really remember where it was, but eventually we talked about at some stage, and it was to do with just making sure that we're not releasing the pedal I guess a little bit too early, right? So
Mm-hmm.
obviously the main thing that we can both keep in mind here is that we are pretty much there or thereabouts, both releasing at obviously at the trail as we turn into the corner, right? So as we turn into the corner, we start to release the brake. Now the thing is with these types of corners that you want to have a really kind of long and progressive trail face coming into these corners, because the reason why is that you have to keep in mind that they are very tight, very long radius types of corners, that you really need to try and do two things. You need to first of all get the car rotated, but you also need to make sure that while you're getting the car rotated, you're also carrying a speed that's not too fast, but you're also carrying a speed that isn't too slow. Because typically what tends to happen when you have a speed that's slightly too fast, as you can kind of see that goes on for yourself, you're going fast from here to here, and look how the car reacts, right? The car starts to wash out a little bit wider rather
Mm-hmm.
than keeping that kind of arc around the curb that you can then power out nice and confidently and get that little bit of an exit. So the problem is that you can see for yourself, we've broken basically there or thereabouts the same spot. Maybe you've taken just a little bit longer to get to the peak pressure. We've gotten to pretty much same peak pressure. Mine's 54, yours is 53, so we're there or thereabouts the same. But you can typically see that maybe the holding phase for me is maybe a little bit skewed. It's not exactly perfectly a kind of hold through the corner, because one thing you do have to kind of keep in mind is that from this moment right here, to be honest with you, we're already kind of we're already kind of angling into the corner, right? So it's a little bit like Lebanon, where we were dealing with some of those corners where you
Mm-hmm.
kind of literally jumped on the brakes. The rotation point wasn't until later, right? So the actual turning point wasn't until later, but the actual angling, the pivoting point started very, very early. So you can actually kind of get away with some of these corners because the pivoting point starts very early. You can actually start to kind of slowly release the brake a little bit as you're coming into the corner. But then when the actual rotation point happens, that's when you can go and then drop the brake, right? So it's a little bit of a kind of unique styled type of corner almost in a way where you're not exactly trying to do it perfectly. You're trying to maybe do a little bit of a kind of, a slightly skewed way of doing the braking, but it's down to just a feeling thing in all honesty. If you feel like this car doesn't wrap around that apex and keep it tight the whole way through and doesn't keep that line consistent from the entry to the exit, it usually means that somewhere around here you're going to be going too fast or you're going to be traveling too fast, which is exactly the case there, right? You're going slightly faster than me by, yeah, about 4 kilometers an hour at that point right there. So all that's telling me is that in that trail phase, we've just basically lifted off the brake a little bit too much. And then you can obviously see that at the back end, you have to have a little bit of a sort of bump in it almost in a way to then trail it off and get back
Yeah.
on the power. So, um, yeah, I mean, what's your feelings through there from your end?
Oh yeah, I'm like on the side here. I opened the other lap that we were gonna look like before this one, because I was trying to
Yeah.
fix it.
Mhm.
What I'm seeing here is like you have an initial peak pressure, then you release a tiny bit, and you hold
Mhm.
there, and that allows you to hold that same brake pressure like until almost the very end, and then you release for
Mhm.
rotation. And I'm like squeezing
Yeah.
and like I'm hitting the peak pressure and holding for way longer, and
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
what I'm looking here in the other lap. Like that's shaving a lot of speed, and then
Yeah.
I start like the what I usually do is trying to catch like the right or feel the right speed, because I feel I'm over
Yeah.
slowing down, so I start releasing it, but then I release too much, and then I have to go on the brakes again. So I think
Yeah.
one of the things that I was working on over the past week, because of everything that's going on in Navarra, that I realized it, I became afraid of hitting the ABS. So I have to go like to
Yeah.
60%. So I squeeze
Mhm.
the brakes to like 40, 45, and then I
Yeah.
slowly make progress until I get like to the point that I want. So if you look my
Yeah.
curve there, it has like a little
Yeah.
bit of a less steep inclination than yours on the beginning on the left side.
Mhm.
Like you
Yeah.
go like from zero to where you wanna be, much
Yeah.
less time than I go.
My,
Like if you look my
yeah. Yeah.
beginning of the my braking pressure to like the peak of it,
Yes.
it's a long, long
Yes.
time. And I'm looking the
Yes.
other one that I
Yes.
did like just before this session. I kind of
Yeah.
fixed that. Like it's exactly the same shape as
Okay.
yours, but then I still have
Yes.
the same habit of holding for longer, and that's what I have
Yes.
to work
Okay.
on now. Like go faster to the peak
Yeah.
pressure, and then
Yeah.
release like start releasing earlier as well.
Yeah, no, for sure. And again, it's just all these different corner types, right? I mean, again, it was a little bit of a situation like at Navarra, last week with the types of corners we were dealing there. You could basically, start to almost, if you really wanted to, you could start to release maybe a little bit earlier than the usual. But we always got to know that it's only these kind of it's always these type of corners that you're always pivoting in. It's always the ones where you're kind of angling in a little bit more than make it the way it is. But it's more so those are the ones where you find that maybe they need the most adjustment almost in a way. And to be honest with you, when you do think about Navarra, like although a lot of the corners are kind of very squared on, like you are coming in on a straight braking zone a lot of time, there are also a few of them that are on a kind of pivot. You are pivoting into the corner before you brake. So like for example, turn 5 to 7, right? An example of that is that yeah, maybe it's not exactly completely straight, and because of that, it's kind of a little bit more of a not exactly a full peak and hold all the time. It's sort of a peak and a release, right? If you look at it
Hmm.
like this, right, you can see how it's a bit more skewed. Like you see how it's a bit more of like a peak and a release almost in a way. Here it's a bit more of a sort of squeeze into it and then a release. It's kind of the same with this, right? It's a little bit more a peak and you kind of start the release because at the end of the day, as much as we like to think about it, this isn't square, right? We're not coming in, going into there, and then turning. You're coming into here, you're turning, and then you're turning completely, right? So you're always radiusing coming into this corner. Same with these, right? You're always radiusing coming into these corners. You're radiusing, turning, and look how I do it here. Peak, come down, come down, come down, come down, come down, come down. Big turn, right? Then you can release quite a fair bit. Here, this is a little bit kind of, unique as well. It's definitely a squeeze into it, like we learned at someone like Winton. But you can see the way you're doing it is a little bit more of a peak and a release almost in a way. It's kind of the same as this, in one way or another, right? So just try and think about in a case of like we are consistently turning into this corner. We're always turning. So you kind of want to keep in mind that you don't want it to be like a square hold. You want it to kind of be like a peak, and you sort of start to release as you come into it, and then obviously you can get back on the power when obviously ready to do so, right? So yeah, just maybe keep that in mind. Again, all the little parts of efficiency like that definitely make a big difference. But just yeah, something to think about. Um, Now obviously coming into here, again, kind of the same in one way or another, kind of the same situation, and you do kind of do the same thing almost in one way or another. I think typically in this situation, all we did differently to one another is that I just broke a bit later. I broke a little bit harder. Obviously, yeah, keeping in mind with everything, it's only 58%, so it's not obviously hard or anything. But yeah, typically I think I just pushed the corner in a little bit deeper. I just went deeper, went a bit harder, made the braking zone maybe a little bit more efficient, and it just allowed me to have a little bit more confidence back on the throttle. Whereas I think for you, just by braking a little bit earlier, I think it just potentially tightened up the corner a little bit too much. That extra few meters that you had of the braking zone just meant that you wrapped it around the curb a little bit too aggressively. I think almost in a way. And I think if maybe we just went into it a little bit harder, into it a little bit deeper. I think you might have felt like it would have given you a different result. But yeah, I mean, how did you feel with it on your end ultimately, man? What was your thoughts?
Yeah, so I was trying to hug the inside curb,
Yeah,
because like this is a type of corner. It's different like the race and the hot lap, but it's a type
yeah,
of corner
yeah.
that people try to go on the inside and overtake you at any cost.
Honestly, no, not really. And it's a very, very tough one. I've never really seen anybody pass me into here on the inside. If they do, it usually ends up in a crash.
Yeah, exactly,
But,
exactly. So I think like maybe last time I
but
was too like low I rating, and
yeah,
because I got crashed in this corner 15,000 times.
yeah,
But maybe
yeah,
now like in the top split I should not be as concerned. But I like your like
mm,
thought of going deeper on the entry,
yeah, yeah,
and then like going tighter on the exit, like in shortening, kind of like if you looked
yeah,
at it at last third of what you do, you get closer to the
yeah,
left side than I do,
yeah, yeah,
and that's most
yeah.
of like
No,
most of the time
exactly.
is.
Yeah, yeah, no, exactly. So, yeah, look, I think just a little bit of maybe an approach difference. I think coming to there, I think maybe just like I said, try and kind of go in harder and go in a bit deeper, and see if kind of then you can kind of cut it back and get a little bit more of a later apex. I think that's probably the biggest thing. You want to kind of be apexing almost around here, pretty much in one way or another, somewhere around there, rather than apexing it completely about there, almost in a
Yeah,
way. So you want to kind of go in a bit deeper, go in a bit more, longer into the corner, and then kind of cut it back, and it gives you just that confidence getting back on the throttle. When you're too tight, of course, that's where you can get snaps, or the car can get oversteer or anything like that, just because obviously the positioning, um, isn't exactly where you kind of want it to be. So it's certainly just something to, um, I think something to think about in one way or another in that sense. So yeah, no, look, I think really good. Otherwise, I think that's all completely fine. I think just something to keep in mind, and yeah, just something to keep on considering. So yeah, just try going deeper. Try put a little bit more pressure into it, and see if you get a bit of a different result. But yeah, I mean, 2.5 tenths for you lingering around there, so a little bit of time to find, but not really much to adjust. To be honest with you, the approach is great. Again, trying to sort of keep in mind that we are kind of braking and turning almost in a way, so you can kind of peak and start to come off a little bit, but the whole kind of holding structure is still there. It's just you kind of change the efficiency of how it kind of works,
yeah,
to get the most out of it, I suppose, in a way. So that's all fine. Um, 5 and 6. So this one here is always fairly interesting because it's just kind of like again, it's a bit of it is a peak and release basically this corner almost in a way, but it's not exactly like a peak and a release straight away. It's kind of a more prolonged release because if you just release it and try to re-establish the throttle, you just understeer wide almost in a way, right? So you've just got to kind of say to yourself, okay, well, it is a peak and a release, but it's a little bit more of a progressive release almost in a way. So I think in comparison to one another, the biggest thing to keep in mind is that you are going in here a little bit slower than I am, just due to the exit of T4. So, obviously coming in and you hitting the brakes, first of all, you are able to go a bit deeper. But the thing is that even when you do go a bit deeper, you're still going slower. So it just basically means that you're able to pretty much more so efficiently brake the car a little bit softer, brake the car a little bit shorter, and you can get on the power obviously a little bit more, um, a little bit more aggressive than I can, and that's just pretty much where you gain a little bit of time back. But unfortunately, I think the biggest fact in the matter of this corner is you're not really losing the time on the exit.
Mm-hmm.
You're kind of just losing the time on the entry, to be honest with you, because it's just that you can see basically from here, this is 0.325 from here to here, you basically just lose that number pretty much just through the entry of the corner, just by going slower. So again, and when we think about this, and you go back to just looking at Navarra again quickly, right? You think about how quickly that time dissipates there. Look how quickly time dissipates here. Look at the difference from here to there,
Mm-hmm.
right? That's about what 2.4 tenths of a second just there, and from here to here, that's again a fair bit of time just lingering almost in a way. So when you compare it to this lap time and the gain versus losses, you look back at something like this and you say, well, there's 0.086. You actually look like you've done this better. It's just a difference of what you've done from the previous corner here that's making you lose that time. So it's just something that's really important to keep in mind in terms of the gain versus losses in lap times, because it's really where it can be is in those little areas like that. So it's very, very important to keep that in the back of your mind. No matter how good or how bad a week is, it all comes down to execution. That's all it really is, right? It's all down to how you can execute something better. That's the difference between you being the best and you still being very good. But being the best, it's just that you can execute it absolutely on the money to exactly what corner needs what, and that's where the difference is, between drivers at this level, I suppose now. Turn 7 and 8. So I mean, realistically, this was there or thereabouts the same. I think you just maybe went a little bit deeper than I did. Maybe just went a little bit harder. Weren't able to maybe get onto full throttle as early as maybe what I was in terms of full throttle. At least you got onto the same spot or earlier, but to get the full throttle was maybe a little bit less. Maybe just could have been, you missed out on that little bit of braking at the start, which didn't really allow it maybe to rotate it as well as what I maybe did. It didn't really feel like I wanted to bite as good as maybe what I did. So I think there's just a little bit of just a little minor difference. Again, 0.014 of a tenth, it's not anything to really skip and rave about in terms of time. But again, it is time. But I think maybe to say I just usually tend to like to just bring it back earlier, brake a little bit softer, and just really focus on getting the power on nice and efficiently. Because again, you lose more time driving in a straight line than you do going through the corner. So you can sort of lose a bit of time through the corner to gain more in the straight, or you can gain more in the corner and then lose more in the straight. So yeah, it all comes back around in leaps and bounds. And then finally turn 9. Yeah, this is a interesting one. In my opinion, I actually really like the way that you did it, to be honest with you. Mine was steppy as shit, almost in a way. I don't really like how that looks from my end, to be honest with you. It looks a bit, it looks a bit just on edge. It doesn't really look very efficient. I quite much like the way you're doing it a lot more. It looks a lot more consistent, a lot more smooth. Um, I think if all you literally did differently was bring this forward a bit more, so brake a little bit later. Again, very much like what we talked about through like turn 2 and 4, where we're going in deeper. It's kind of the same situation as here, right? They're literally exactly the same, almost in a way. So if you were to bring that deeper, you'd go in deeper. If you were to bring this deeper, you'd also go in deeper here, which all it really allows you to do is as you get to the back half of the corner, you can just apex better and power out a lot better. That's
Mm-hmm.
realistically all it is. So this track's about more so, I think, having the peace of mind of like, when you go into all these corners, you want to be kind of bombing it into the corner a little bit more and kind of just getting that later apex, almost in a sense, just going in a bit harder, getting that kind of deeper washout point, so then you can radius back and get down to the apex a little bit nicer. That's I think what you're looking for at tracks like this, for example. But again, it's good to know for a lot of different circuits that we visit as well. So yeah, last corner there. Any real comments from you on that one? Was that probably? Well, I mean, it's very close in terms of lap time, but maybe you're just feeling like you need to go in a bit wider and get it cut back rather than trying to keep it tight the whole way through.
Yeah, I'll try to do what we're saying. And as I said, like my goal for this week is to get this one consistently
Yeah.
executed, because I feel like a lot
Yeah.
of the overtaking opportunities that come in this track are in T1 after you have like
Yeah.
a
Yeah.
better exit on this one, and a lot of people struggle. And it's just like such
Mm-hmm.
a fun like corner because the car goes kind of
Mm.
sliding, and you're
Yeah.
holding the
No.
car. So it's one of my
Yeah.
favorites, and I really want to do well like around this one.
Yeah, yeah, no, absolutely. So yeah, I think you've got all the right groundwork for this circuit. To be honest with you, I think, again, it's always so funny to look at it and say we are so close, yet there's 6 tenths on the table. But you know how quickly that time comes and goes when you look at the lap time in comparison, and look at just the little differences in terms of execution of the corner in comparison to one another. And I think hopefully just looking at something like this and you refer it back to Navarra, you know, everything can be referred back to a week like Navarra and say, okay, I am so far away, but we're so far away because the execution is just so different from maybe what someone else is doing or what I'm doing, right? And I think that's just the thing that you've always got to keep in mind is that, you know, even in a week like here at Tsukuba, we're 6 tenths away, but execution purposes, if you execute the corner correctly, you go from being 6 tenths to 2 tenths, right? And it's the same thing in the Vara. If you execute the same corner correctly, you're going from being 1 tenth off to 6 tenths off. And then it's about executing everything else the same. But the thing is that that time could be so easily found. It's just about being in that mindset of saying, okay, well, what does this corner need from me? Does it need more efficient braking? Does it need a longer duration braking? Does it need harder braking? Or does it need softer braking? You know, and it's just about breaking it down a little bit like that, I suppose, in a way. So, yeah, Alan. Look, interesting week this week. I think, you know, definitely one that's, yeah, I guess maybe not been as successful with Navarra, but I think at the end of the day, you know, these are the weeks where you learn and you grow, and I think mentally you expand your knowledge of what you need and what you want from a race car and how to obviously get it. I think that's the biggest thing. How do I achieve that lap time? How do I achieve the same thing? And I think to walk away from today and just say, okay, it's not me, it's not my skills, it's not my driving, it's just how I'm executing the driving isn't exactly as good as what those guys are doing. And that's kind of still the thing that we're building upon. And at the end of the day, we've got to be realistic with it as well, man. Every circuit we're coming back to this season or coming to this season, it's one that we've never really looked at before. You know, Navarra is a new one for us. I don't think we've ever looked at the circuit before. So, you know, it's a new one for us almost in a way. And it's a big circuit to learn as well. It's not exactly the smallest track in the world either. If it was the Navarra Speed Circuit, which is like, or the medium circuit, which is like looks like a guitar that has like 8 corners, that would have been super easy to be able to drive. But the racing would have been pretty chaos. I would suspect as well. But I think the biggest thing is that, like, you know, it's just the size difference in this circuit just means that everything that we're doing, if you get one or two or three or four things slightly incorrect, you're basically losing, yeah, a tenth per corner almost in a way, which can be the difference between you qualifying in P5 and the difference between you qualifying in P3, you know, and that's really the big thing to always keep in the back of your mind. So, yeah, man. Look, any comments, any questions from you? Anything in mind, or all pretty good and kind of a good few things to take away, both a driving sense, but I think from a mental and mentality standpoint as well.
Yeah, more than I feel. Like I really appreciate. First of all, like I really appreciate like the grounding exercise and putting
Of
things in
course.
perspective. So like that helps
Yep.
understanding where we are and where we want to be, and that's just part of the
Yep.
process. There's building
Yep.
in
Yep.
that, so that's like really
Yep.
appreciated. Regarding
Of course.
Tsukuba, I think like those little things that I can change. Those are not things that I don't think I can change. So let me see
Yep.
if today can shave off like another 2 3 tenths or more.
Yep.
Let's see what I can
Yep.
do. There is one thing though, like
Yep.
this
Yes.
this is our last session with them choose
Yes.
because
Yes.
next not next week, the following week I'll be
Yep.
traveling for work.
Okay.
Then I come
Yep.
back on Thursday nights, and then I travel on
Yep.
Friday to Brazil,
Okay.
and I'm gonna spend
Yes.
2 weeks in Brazil. So
Okay. Sure.
for our
Yep.
session next week, I was
Yes.
thinking about, instead of like just keeping it all along, I was
Uh
thinking
huh.
about maybe we can like pick a track and start
Yep.
like the first few laps with the Porsche GT4
Okay.
and
Yep.
start
Sure.
having a feel, and then we can discuss a little bit. And then once
Okay.
I'm back,
Yep.
we're gonna be like middle of the season, and then we pick up from there.
Yep. Yep. Okay. Yeah. No, that sounds good. Yeah. Let's do that. I'll have a think about what circuit. I mean, obviously the first big circuit we did was Monza. So yeah, I'll have a think about one that probably will be a good one to just get the gist of the GT4. So we can do that. But yeah, I did forget that honestly. That was the last one in the M2 really. So yeah. No, look, Yeah, look, I think you've done really well in this car, to be honest with you. And I think to see, and again, we can't forget it. Bit of an annoying one that it kind of the last sort of track there. Well, not really. Tsukuba's obviously probably the more so the last circuit, but I think obviously more so in a way the whole journey of the growth in this car. I think it's been great to see you really progress. I suppose in that sort of sense. And I mean you've been able to see it as well. I mean from where you started to where you are now, you're a completely different driver. But I think it just again is kind of opening up the book of saying, okay, well, we really have mastered maybe executing time out of the more shorter circuits and the more, more smaller tracks that you'll get. But obviously, maybe now the focus is we got to try and see, okay, well, how can we, get into that mindset and I guess get comfortable with executing everything, not in a short circuit manner, but doing it in a track where you maybe got an extra 40 seconds of driving to execute as well, and that'll be something to definitely work on with. So yeah, no, we'll definitely crack on with that. We'll get into GT4 next week, and then yeah, we'll be ready to start whenever you return, and we'll go from there.
Perfect, man. Really appreciate
Perfect.
it, and like sorry for
You're welcome.
going longer today, but I
No, that's
appreciate it.
okay. That's all right. No, you're very welcome. All good. Well, yeah, like I said, any questions, let me know. Just stay composed, stay comfortable, stay grounded, and yeah, I'm sure that just with a little kind of few tinkers, I think you'll get it here. But as well, it's a Tsukuba. I think it should be a good week for you if you can find a little bit there. So yeah, man, all good. Like I said, any questions, let me know. But yeah, I'll catch you for the same time next week.
Absolutely, man.
Thanks, bro.
Have a
Thank
good
you,
one.
Alan.
Yeah.
Have a good night. All right. Take
Thank
it
you
easy.
too.
See you soon. See you, man.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Yeah. Yeah. I saw the news. If you guys haven't seen in the news, I it doesn't sound like they released the cause, right? I got very curious because he was young. He was young. So Mr. Bush, Kyle Bush, um, has passed. And he's an Oscar driver. I think he won like 2 championships. Got very famous. He raced for Joe Gibbs Racing for some time. Then he switched teams. Um, it doesn't look like they know what to know. Yeah. Let's have our hearts broken here by his last tweet. Just 41 years. 41 years. Yeah, kind of a farewell to his kid. I think it was before, like, so from what I saw, he was complaining about like a sinus issue and like driving the car made it worse. Maybe it was a complication of that. I've never seen a complication of that, but I'm not a doctor as well. So, what do I know? What do I know? Just like a sad note. But yeah, thanks for bringing that. Thanks for bringing that. I think it's well deserved. Now we go back here. Let's see what we can do. This was my session right before the coaching session started. So I already have like an active reset. I don't know if it's gonna still active reset for me because sometimes it loses it. But I was like comparing both laps to his lap. Our optimal overall lap is actually around here. I had a calculator open, maybe I closed it, but it was actually around here, like 1008. Let's see if we can improve a little bit more. I actually didn't see like which gear he was using. Let me put like this is a garbage lap already, but let me too aggressive. Just like to feel the track again. Let's see what we can do. So that part of the track is very tricky. There's all this track on the left side that I'm not using, I should be using. So I'll get rid of the this thing here. And let's just relax and find the lap time. This means I'm over slowing down the car too early. That's why like I'm biting so much there, so. I feel like I have to carry a bit more speed, a bit deeper. So even later on the brakes there. Felt like a decent corner this time, to be honest. Apex was not there. We went too deep, carried too much speed, completely missed the apex. No, too much of a lift. So let me go a little bit deeper on the brakes here. No. Oh, let me see one thing here. Session optimal lap. Let's start comparing ourselves to our optimal. Too early, I guess. Too early. We brought our op mode to 078, which is good. come on, save the car, save the car, save the car. If this was a race, we would have saved the car. Which is important. It's not uncommon to like have issues on this track. Off track? Oof, almost off track. Too much in the brakes there. Let's reset this. Yes. Maybe I can open up a little bit more and go earlier on the gas.
It's just set your fastest lap of the session.
Oh, that's good. So there, what I have to do now is to rotate later. Nope. I'll try a couple more like here and we're gonna go to the telemetry analysis. Let me take this off. so I can focus more on the track and feeling the track. Off track. I'm not carrying like enough speed here, to be honest. Let's go a little bit deeper, a little bit later. Yeah, too much time wasted. Good corner. All right,
Fastest lap for you.
we're below the ones. So let me see like the last lap telemetry really, and then we can compare because it's fresh. We have the video here. Let's see what's going on. Oh, this is my old is this the one? Yeah, let's use this one. We have to load like everything again. So teams, let's go to Johnny. I'll have to control F him. Oh, here. Oh, that's his lap. So, okay, we've decreased the delta to 365 from like 5 something. Let's get rid of caps for a second. Let's analyze T1. So T1, I'm going on the brake slightly earlier, and it's still taking me some time to hit peak pressure. At least now, like his peak pressure is 54%, my peak pressure is 53%, so it's the same. So I just have to brake slightly later. It is here. I'm starting here. 108 to 111, so 3 meters. So if we watch it, if we watch our fast lap, and let's watch from the cockpit. Actually, from blimp. So here's where we're braking. We start braking here. And let me see if I can get closer. I can't. Yes, so we're braking here. 3 meters is likely. This is probably 3 meters, right? From here, maybe not. No, maybe that's like someone laying down here. How long is the car? We should know this. So M2 CS length. So the car is 4.5. So 2/3 of the car. Maybe here, yeah. So 2/3 of the car is going to be here. So we should be braking around here. Here. 3 frames. So let's go to the cockpit. So I actually brake in reaction to this. So I react to that and braking. Then like it's 1, 2, 3. Yeah. Maybe I should react to something else. Maybe to this pulse here. Yeah, maybe I should be braking here. Okay. It's not a lot. Let's refine it. But I should go to the peak pressure earlier and then go earlier and start releasing. And this should like save us some speed here. Because we start braking early and then we held for longer, so that's all costing us time. It's all costing us time. So you see on the exit, like it's not bad, right? The exit's not bad. Then I'm going to the exit again, I get slightly earlier, and because I go slightly earlier, I gotta wait a bit, just a tiny bit, to go on the gas, and that will gonna allow me to get to the 100% earlier. Like he's getting to 100% much earlier than I am. I get to 100% here. It's insane, right? And he's getting to 100% here. Okay, so commit. Just go and commit. The 2 through 4. I'm using a wider line, going same depth, but because I'm wider than he is. So let's see from the rear. Purchase. Because I'm... So here we understood, just like more committed and then start releasing slightly and then the rest. And then get to 100% like around here. Let me see if here we are at the same position. When I get on the brakes. No, he's more on the inside. He's more on the inside. So he's coming here and braking in this direction, I think. Whereas I'm braking like towards the corner. Let's see if that's true. Yeah. So I'm braking with an angle to the corner. And he's just like deeper and braking to the outside of the corner. He's like pointing to the outside. So let's use this as a reference. So that's probably around, let me see, 20% brake. When do I get to 20% brake? Here. Yeah, he's much closer actually to the inside. He just does everything like much closer to the inside. The only difference, like I'm opening up, he's just going deeper. And then here he's even like a little bit further. So he goes narrow, and that's where like he gains all the time, because he's braking significantly later. So I brake at the beginning of the curb, 521. He's braking here, 530. So 9 meters, 2 cars. Let's see where that is. I'm starting the braking zone here. He's starting 1 car, 2 cars. He's starting here. So what does that mean in terms of? So he's braking here. 11 frames. But he's more to the inside. So probably when he sees this from the inside is when he starts braking. We're gonna try it. I'm braking. I'm starting to brake here. And he's just braking on this direction. Okay? So there is some time there. It's on the entry, like the exit is fine. Not quite, because he's carrying like 1 kilometer an hour more. So he also gets to 100% earlier. Same start point, just gets earlier. And then here I'm braking much like earlier and more for no reason because I'm carrying less speed. So 772 to 774. So let's see what it means. It's a frame. Like, that's a frame. I'm going the brakes here. He's going here. That's really like 1 frame. But he's using less brakes. That's what matters. I'm over slowing down the car here. 20%. He's using like 15%. And because I am over slowing down the car, I'm going the gas here. Right here. And he's only going on the gas like here. So that's 836. So 18 meters. That's a lot. So he's truly going like on the gas like around here. Like here. That's when he goes on the gas. And it just goes faster to 100%. Okay. Let me see 2 things here. Gears. So that's a 3rd gear, and then I upshift as I go, as I lift. It's just like upshifting later. But I'm shaving too much speed. Like I can try to go flat here probably, to be honest. Second, okay. And that's pretty much it. Like everything else is very, very close. I'm gaining time on the entry maybe. He's braking slightly earlier and holding less of a brake pressure here. And then getting to 100% earlier. Slightly tighter on the exit and then wider. Here's just a straight, so whatever I do there is going to reflect. And here I think we're faster, so this early brake, letting it like go and then going on the gas like this. Can probably be slightly more aggressive on the like final 10%. That's going to help us get more speed. So all in all, what we have to do is here. Just brake a tiny bit later. Feel the car, feel the speed. This is a good line. Go on the gas, 100% here. Bring the car more to the left here. We're gonna bring the car more aligned with this line here. I think it was like slightly later on the brakes, but way less. Way less, and going on the gas like super late. Braking a little bit earlier here. And here I think we're doing fine. This is my reference here. Alright, let's do it. Let me see one thing. Who is carrying more speed as we get to the finish line? He is. So really, like, maybe go on the gas a bit earlier. Let's try it. Let's try. Let's give it a shot. Hold on. I want you guys to see this. I barely see it, but I want you guys to see it. 100%. He's braking earlier there, by the way. Bad. Okay. Let's pick up some momentum here. It's a different line. We'll have to learn it. I'm still going 20%, has to be less. Not bad. Man, almost half a second in one corner. Ah, I saved the crash, but didn't give up on the fast lap, so I just destroyed the lap. I feel like I have to open up a little bit more the entry there. I came back to my line. This was bad, let's just reset it. already destroyed this lap. So let's just keep trying to push. Let me try to open up way more next time. I'll just try to... Let's see.
Estras Chavez
Hello, sir.
said, "How is Tsukuba?"
Good. Good. I like the track. I'm excited to race here next week. Ah, you see how good it's going? You came here to jinx me, man. It's always you. It's always you, Ezras. It is a track I like. Like, they had this track on the how's it called? On the iRacing arcade demo version. It was this track, so I kind of like it a lot. I think it's a fun track, but last season, a lot of crashes. People go for dives everywhere. At least at the iRating I was, so hoping that this season is gonna be different. I'm losing so much time
Estras
there.
Chavez said, "Haha, what is the reference time?"
100593, I think. 5. It's
Estras
06.
Chavez said, "I killed a lot of people last season on this track as well."
Maybe I was one. Maybe I was one of those. But you know what? We're still both learning, so you just have this killer instinct in you, which is fine. We can still be friends because we all know the gold killer is not you. The gold killer is our friend Seifu. Garbage. So I'm trying to be like more visual, you know, like on my decisions. Less like looking at percentages and stuff, and more like brake here, can start releasing, need rotation, can go on the gas. Okay. Open up as much as I can, go on the brakes, slow down too much. I feel like I can go way less on the brakes still. Let's try. Like I have to get more comfortable with this type of rotation. No, too late on the brakes. Release too early. This is what I don't want to happen, right? So let me see my difference in braking pressure versus him on this corner, on the hairpin. So he goes to, actually he goes a lot. He just goes later. He goes more than I go, but he goes way later. Let's do it. Let's go deep and hard.
Estras Chavez
That's what she said.
said, "I think the last T1 was really good."
This was good, by the way, so... Here, like, it's a tiny touch on the brake.
Estras Chavez said, "Should have gone a little less on the throttle at first." Sigma BL
Which corner?
said, What layup?
This is Tsukuba. Full. That's a good lap.
Estris Chavez said. The T1 on the previous lap.
Like this. Now I went a little bit later.
Estris Chavez said. I thought line and braking was on point.
All I changed now was the acceleration point. Let's try to get this one right. I'm getting good lap times, guys. This was garbage, but like I over slowed down the entry there. I don't know, like I'm still losing a lot of time there.
Sigma BL
Not bad.
said. You can cut that corner more.
Which one? When you say that corner, so the problem is there is a lag, like 10, 15 seconds, sometimes 5 seconds, sometimes 20 seconds. From when you see it, from when I see it, the message. So hairpin 1, hair T1, this hairpin 1. This is our beloved right-hander sweeper. Oh. If you meant this one, I thought you meant this one, like with this car cutting off that one. I don't know. Let me try again. Nope.
Sigma BL said. After the hairpin. Estris Chavez
This car hates curbs.
said. This track is frustrating because I understand being half a second on Navarra for example, but the same of this track is like her.
Oh, half a second here is the difference between the
Estris
first and the
Chavez
last.
said. And I'm always half a second behind the reference.
You're just a genius, man. Like, you just need to like race longer tracks. Like, if you are half a second in Nürburgring, you are the new Max Verstappen. So, just like race the I slowed down too much. The Nürburgring one. I have to stop over slowing down. Was a good lap. Let me try a flying lap here, a really good one. I don't want to look at the delta at all. I just want to look at what I'm doing. lost some time there. I don't have to say this was a garbage T1, right? Maybe I should save the second gear for like the back end of the corner. So like in this line, I do go super early on the gas, but I lose a lot of time on the entry. Is anybody else trying Tsukuba right now?
Estras Chavez said, "What I usually do with the throttle is going to 70 early in the turn, then straighten the wheel and immediately to 100.
Like, yeah. Garbage. Let's get this back.
Estras Chavez said, "The 70 will rotate the car and avoid losing time because the TC1T get activated a lot."
I feel like the initial brake pressure actually stops the rotation, not like rotates the car. I feel like the braking is what truly like rotates the car. See, like I went too hard on the brake, so you brake here, you shake it off, so then like release, like this second release with the downshift. It's like here. This just makes me commit to the line. And here's just like a tap. Let me see what I can do here. Let me see what I can do here. It's a good lap. Let's try to bring this home. Oh, baby.
Fastest lap for you.
Good lap. Too deep. So here's still like where I'm still not happy with. I think that's my least consistent corner. Let me analyze my previous lap against Gianni. Hold on. Nope, cannot do T1 flat, okay? I just tried do T1 flat.
We got big problems with that engine. I think you lost a lot of power.
Doesn't
You
work
blew
like
the
that.
engine.
Let's see VRS. Oh, it's midnight already. That reminded, I think it's a Taylor Swift song. Yeah. It's like the one to hairstyles. We're improving our time, which is good. So we're comparing a 101.1, I think, 101, and now we are like at a 1008. The problem is going to be like not problem, but if you look our lap times,
Estras Chavez said,
not super consistent.
Yes, the brake is the main thing, but I think on the M2 and other front-engined cars we need to rotate on exit with some throttle, makes it rotate faster and you're on the gas earlier.
I'm gonna try it. I'm gonna try it. So, 0.23, we're 0.23 behind him, and 0.22 is like turn 1. So I'm still braking a little bit earlier. I'm still holding the brake for longer. Still shaving off too much. Ah, man. Like I'm shaving down this much speed because I'm braking
Estras
earlier.
Chavez
Just a
said,
tiny bit later.
Can you share the track conditions on Discord? Estras Chavez said, I'll try some laps.
Let me screenshot this. Don't forget a time here, time of the day. Done. And if you don't know, I have a Discord server, description is down below. So all I have to do is brake a tiny bit later on turn 1. And that's everything should fall in place, really. Feels like I over slowed down here, but it's okay. Too early. I can go deeper. I don't have to hug that curb. Forget about hugging that curb. Do both hairpins the same. Go later on the brakes. Nope. So you guys cannot see, but our T1 improved a lot. Like a lot. I'm consistently hitting this because I'm seeing down here. So let's try to put one together. Slightly later. not quite this, but no, I gotta go deeper. 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 Whoops. Let me try to go around like this here. Garbage. Problem is like I'm carrying more speed now on the exit, so I have to brake slightly earlier. Too much. Still losing a lot of time there. I missed the apex, and yet this was a fast like corner. Was good. Was good until it wasn't anymore. Gotta be very patient here. My optimal is like 574, which is better than like the actual fast lap. So let's work on this. I wanna see if I can carry more speed like around that corner. No, I gotta point like to them. 889. Dope. That was a very good one. I feel like I'm going too early on the gas there. I'll be more patient. And see if that helps at all. In all of these, I'm gonna try to be like more patient on the gas. Except this one. So here I think we're doing a good job already. Even when I make mistakes, it's still like a good one. No. You know what that is? Carrying too much entry speed. See? I can't go that narrow. Ah! The car snapped at the very end. The very end. Almost there, guys. Almost there. We're almost putting a full lap good together here. Brake harder, go deeper.
Estras Chavez said, track is really hot.
Is it?
Estras Chavez said, 45C.
Come on, stop making the same mistake over and over. Ah. I mean, it's a funny balance because at the same time the track is warmer, the usage is zero. Right? Come on. I can do this. It's gonna come now. Watch. I think I know what we're talking about, the rotation of the throttle. I'm always making the same mistake. The problem is that all the time that I have to gain on this lap is the same place. Here I think I'm maxed. You see, like, I'm maxed out. Let's try again. Man, we're so close. Now I had to go like, I didn't break enough. Again, didn't break enough. Commit. Fill the car. It's okay. Not beautiful. Let's try to gain it somewhere else. No? Let me go deeper here. No, let's work on this corner. I'm gonna let it go because I want to work on that corner. That's a typical case of like fast in, slow out. Let's go deep. No. So less and earlier. That's an off track, so I won't even take the risk of having my best lap with an off track. That's too early on the gas, so gotta be patient. And now I've got to be patient on the gas. Plus 22 at the end. We said we are gonna break earlier, so let's do it. Maybe I have to go like when the car is straight, go to 4. And see if it goes straight. Nope. No, right? Well, let's try this one here. Earlier than us. Also not.
Esdras Chavez said, just showing how I use the throttle, haha.
What do you mean? What do you mean? No, that's not it.
Esdras Chavez said, there are some places you can see I went of the gas too much and had to dial back a little before I going to a full 100.
Where can I see?
Esdras Chavez
Oh, okay. Where?
said, I sent a link
You've
for
got
my
wheel damage.
telemetry.
Looks like one of your wheels is out of alignment.
I don't see it.
You'll have less grip
Where do you
out
send
there.
it?
Your car has too much damage, we've got to fix it. We've got damage on the front end. That aero damage is probably slowing you
I don't
lot.
see on the Discord.
Esdras Chavez said, on the YouTube chat, Esdras Chavez
I don't think came through. Did it?
said, I can send on Discord as well.
Send on Discord. I'm not seeing on the YouTube chat. I don't know if it blocks or what. One last try, guys. Let's remove this. One last try. Just one last try.
Esdras Chavez said, sent.
Let me just try to finish this. I'm not looking at the delta. I'm not looking at anything. Hopefully it's a good one.
That was your
Yes!
fastest lap of the
We
session.
improved a bit. 7, 8, 9. Okay, 7, 8, 9. I think it's a good lap time, or like within 2/10 of Gianni. Felt very good.
Esdras Chavez said, nice lap, haha. Janalutsu said, banging.
There you go. There you go. There you go. Yeah, like I really like this track. Hopefully it's gonna be a good week next week. And let me see. First things first. I think okay. Here we go. Let me see how we're doing in terms of versus Gianni. Two tenths, less than 2/10. Let's see. So yeah, like we kind of fixed this 3 here before, but on our fastest lap we didn't nail them. But this improved a lot. Like this improved a lot. Now we're braking slightly later, but it kind of is like forcing us to have the same speed and the kind of the same shape. And yeah, like the exit speed is not bad. So we're losing towards like the rotation zone, because we're here like 18, but like it's also it's tiny. This one, or like we're going wider. I don't know how we can go like so inside here, but we are recovering time on the entry, so it means like faster in, and then lose a lot of time because we're like further away from the corner. But we're getting earlier on the gas as well. It's just taking us a long time to get to 100%. 5/100ths of a second. I think I'm braking ultra late and still like not late enough. At least the brake pressure is the same. I go on the gas slightly early because I brake early, so this makes sense. But I'm like slower around the corner. So I have to try to brake later as well. If I brake later here, we're gonna make up this. Have a second? More. This is like 1.2 from here. From our braking marker, which is 0.06 to 100% on gas. That's 0.11. It's because like he's lifting, we're not. But we're the same entry speed, so we end up like being faster. Then this one, because we're faster, going earlier on the brake, slightly, just a bit earlier on the brake. We have kind of the same speed, but then I have to lift just a little bit and carry a little bit more speed. We're kind of faster around the corner, and that's preventing us from being faster on the exit. But the straight's the same, so it's purely here, carrying the same speed. And then on this corner here, I'm still going a little bit earlier. I think it has more to do with the braking shape than anything else, but he's going around faster. So if I'm going this early, maybe I'll go less brake pressure, just to maintain like this. And be patient on the gas. Let me see our friend here. Let me compare you with me. Where do I add a lap? Alright, maybe I won't. Is it here? You do not have permission. Okay. Yeah, I see what you're saying. Here's the deal though.
Estris Chavez said, I think I just added the view. Estris Chavez said,
Okay,
let me update.
there you go.
Estris Chavez said, updated.
Yeah, now it's allowing me to. So let me see. Around corner 1, like T1 are the same. The time is really on this right-hander. It's funny because I'm using like you're braking hard, letting the car rotate and going on the gas. And I'm just carrying the brake. But I am over slowing down, so I'll keep my shape in. You really like the ABS on this corner here, right? You go later, hard on the brakes. And this one you go harder as well. But this one I'm gaining time, right? My problem is maybe like from here to here. These are where our gap is. So I know I'm over slowing down here. I'm over, like I can just hold this shape and like meet you here. That's gonna save me a
Estris
lot of
Chavez
time.
said,
And then
yeah, the T0 is my worst corner, I think, LOL.
not for long, not for long. Let me see here. Then I go on the brakes last and you go on the brakes earlier than you go on the brakes. And because you go later, you're carrying a lot more speed on the entry. Our minimum speed is the same. Our gas point's the same. It's just maybe like I have to go last on the brakes because we are carrying way more speed on the entry and you're still able to go around it. So here's the deal with the gas. If I do anything like this with my gas pedal, that I go up, a little bit down and then up, Gianni murders me. We worked so hard on this, on like always an upward trajectory. But I see what you're saying, like, and I think I'm doing kind of similar, you see? Even here, like, mine goes down. What's going on, buddy? You're crazy. What do you have in your mind? Like here it goes down a little bit, 1% and then up. But I see, like, I think we're doing kind of the same thing, to be honest. Beautiful lap. Which is like, it's just like you have like the 70% and then 100. And I go more progressively, but I also go like aroundish here. Let's see this one. You see, like I go around here, I hold, and then I go to 100. It's just I'm feeling the rotation of the car here. But I'm losing time, so I might be able to commit a little bit earlier to 100%. And then, let's see. Next one is here. Same thing. Like you go to 70, you hold, like I go to 70. It's just I'm going earlier, so I'm holding for longer. Oh, you were the blue. I thought I was a... No, you're the red. I'm the blue. Yeah, okay, that's right. I'm the blue. Yeah. So I'm actually carrying more speed here. Because you get to 100% earlier, you match the speed. So I have to get to this 100% around here. That's what it is. Earlier, like just go for it. And but if you look, like it's not that different. It's just like you do like a kind of steps, right? And I don't do the steps. I go more like, I go smoother, I think. But yeah, thanks for sharing. Thanks for sharing. It tells me like I'm in the right direction, because this is like, this is a hybrid of like what Gianni told me to do and what you're doing. And you're like slightly faster than I am here, which, I mean, this is like the difference between P1 and P5 in this track, but that aside, it's kind of the same approach. I have like a target, middle one, and then like go to 100%. But this one, you are much earlier. Okay, this is the last one. This is the one that you suck. I mean, I didn't mean you suck. It's just you said it. Go later. I want to go even later on the gas on this one, to be honest. It's just like slowing down less. Using less of the brakes. If I go like to 35% here and go down, I'll carry more speed. And I'll be able to go later on the gas. Well, that's it for tonight. Much longer than I was expecting, but we got a good lap. We got a very good conversation with Gianni. If this is your first time here, thanks for joining. Don't forget to join our Discord server. The link is down in the description. I'm gonna be back here tomorrow. Tomorrow's Friday. Friday's Formula Friday, and tomorrow we are gonna be racing this here, São Paulo. So love the track. Let's see if we can have any fun there. And yeah, we are to like 199 subscribers. So if you're here, make sure you can be the 200th.
Esdras Chavez said, "See ya tomorrow."
See ya tomorrow. Thanks everybody for joining.